On Saturday, former President Donald Trump described his alleged persecution at the hands of his political enemies and entrenched government operatives at CPAC Texas 2022. The notion of his being unduly persecuted is a common refrain in his speeches since well into his presidency, and since he has left office, is a staple of his pitch to conservatives, as well as a common right-wing talking point. The remarks came prior to the unprecedented FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago on Monday. The raid came after months of increasing scrutiny into the boxes of White House documents that Trump took with him to Florida. Many on the left, including former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, have called for transparency into the reasons for the raid. They fear that a lack of openness will feed into Trump's continuing narrative of persecution and unfair targeting.
A friend of mine recently said that I was the most persecuted person in the history of our country. And then I thought about it, because I didn't have time to think much because I'm always being persecuted. And I felt, you know, he may very well be right. What a terrible thing. We had, think of it, a Russia scam that was covered religiously by the fake news media, even though they knew it was a fake. They knew it was fake. They knew earlier than anybody. It turned out to be a concocted fairy tale made up by crooked Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, a sleazeball writer named Christopher Steele, and a coordinated effort. This could only happen to me with, of all places, you know who coordinated? Russia! They were the ones that were involved with the Russia hoax on me. Then I had impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, the Mueller investigation resulting in a verdict after 2 years of no collusion with Russia. You know, during the very early part when I came down the escalator with our great First Lady, who, by the way, is very popular. They love our First Lady. Great style and great heart. But when I came down the escalator, it started early on. Young people would come up. You might have heard this story. I've told it a couple of times, not much. But young campaign were, "Sir, it's such an honor to meet you, sir. Oh, someday I want to be president. Sir, can I ask you one question?" "Yes." "Do you have anything to do with Russia?" I'd say, "That's a strange question from this kid." Then a month later, somebody else would come up. "Sir, it's an honor to meet you. Sir, do you have anything at all or any knowledge of anything that happened with you in Russia?" "No." And I was so innocent. You know, it was so crazy that I didn't even take it seriously. But after about the 5th time this happened, "Sir, do you have anything to do with Russia?" I said, "What the hell is going on with Russia?" And they made up a phony story. It was a concocted story. And it really started as a way to shift blame for the fact that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats lost the election. But then it got carried away, and the press loved it, and it kept going and going. But I tell this story with a very heavy heart, because I have a son who's a very good guy, Don. Very, very good guy. He's a good person. Sometimes he comes across a little rough, but you know what? He's just a good person. And think of this. Adam, Shifty Schiff, and these people, they made up this hoax. They knew it was a hoax. And I saw him at the microphones one day saying, "Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States, will soon be going to jail for what he did with Russia." Think of this. He's saying that my son, my beautiful son, my child, is going to go to jail. And he knew it was a hoax. Wants to put my son, destroy my son, and he knew it was a hoax. And it continues to this day. These are evil people. These are sick people. Think of that. Right? Kimberly? Right? Who has been through anything like this? Certainly no politician, and definitely no president. All of this while I was doing so much as president, including creating the most secure border in American history, record tax and regulation cuts, $1.87 gasoline, no inflation, low interest rates, record growth in real wages, record growth in our economy, beating China and Russia and everybody else, rebuilding our entire military, rebuilt our entire military. You know, our military was falling to pieces. We have jet fighters that were 44 years old. You've heard the story where the grandfather flew them, then the father, then the son. The historic Abraham Accords bringing peace to the Middle East, Jerusalem and Israel, much, much more. And now we have the January 6th Unselect Committee of Political Hacks and Thugs, like Schiff. Think of that, though. Think about that. How would you like to be a father and watch this guy? Not a stupid man. He's a psycho, but he's not as stupid. And he does have an oddly shaped head. It's shaped like a watermelon. Right? No, he's a psycho. And he acts like so sanctimonious. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to report Donald Jr. will be in jail for what he's done. And he knew it was a hoax. What they do to destroy lives, and they're destroying the lives of many other people right now with that same thing and that same sickness and thinking. But it's the very same people who perpetrated the lies that I was an agent of Russia. I'm an agent. I'm the worst thing that ever happened to Putin. Look what he's doing now. He's knocking the hell out of everyone because he has no respect. That would have never happened with me. Would have never happened. And it was an amazing thing. I had to listen to this. You know, with Russia, I put the biggest charges on every one of their people. But what did I do? I stopped Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever even heard the term Nord Stream. I found out, but I stopped them. And I stopped them. Why did I stop them? Because I thought it was a terrible thing for our country. It was a terrible thing for Europe. I told that to Germany. They all smiled. Very famous now. Germany was smiling when I was at the United Nations saying this is a terrible thing. All you have to do is look at the last 200 years. It's going to happen again. We could end up in World War III because we are being governed by incompetent people. Could happen. And this war will be worse than any war ever because we have weapons the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. But you say, where does it stop? Where does it end? It probably doesn't stop. Because despite great outside dangers, our biggest threat remains the sick, sinister, and evil people from within our own country. Never forget, everything this corrupt establishment is doing to me is all about preserving their power and control over the American people. They want to damage me in any form so that I can no longer represent the hardworking citizens of our country, so that I will no longer get a 99% approval rating from CPAC. I heard Matt protested. He said, it can't be 8. It came out at 98. This is a story. I don't know if it's true, but Matt will tell you someday. He protested. He said, that's ridiculous. It can't be. So they went back and they checked all the facts. And it went from 98 to 99. Is that a true story? And that was McLaughlin. You know, that's a great, legit firm. That was McLaughlin. He said, can't be, that's too hard. It doesn't look right. We'll check it again, 99. But they don't like that. The other side doesn't like that much, man. And the fake news media is totally complicit in all of these things that are happening. If I renounced my beliefs, if I agreed to stay silent, if I stayed home, or if I stayed in my basement, the persecution of Donald Trump would stop immediately. That's what they want me to do, but I can't do that. And I will not do that because I love our country and I love the people of our country so much.